Canadian National is one of the railways of all time. I've made like what, 3 videos on them in a row now? I'll get to my Pookie Bears CP and BC Rail soon, don't worry. So back in May of this year, I uploaded a video quote unquote fixing the CPKC railway logo. Ugh. Can't believe that string of letters just came out my mouth. I thought about it for a bit, and I think it's time we address Timmy's Maple Syrup Land's other major railway, CNSF Railroad Industries Corporation.com.co.uk Incorporated. So just to preface this, I won't be redesigning or even suggesting to change the CN logo, as you could probably already tell by the title. CN's noodle logo, designed by Alan Fleming and introduced in 1960, is one of the most timeless logos ever created. It's stayed constant throughout the decades and has even been incorporated into other railway companies in the national family like the Grand Trunk Western and the Central Vermont Railways. Except for a short amount of time back in the early to mid-90s.
Is this thing on? Hello? Okay, it works. Hello everyone, I am County Productions and I've just hijacked Winnipeg Railfan's channel. I'm holding the channel hostage for a ransom of $1.5 million. If Winnipeg doesn't pay up by next Tuesday, I'm blowing up Prairie Dog 4138 and Lake Line 911. We've got to go back to 1992. What was happening that year? Nirvana was riding out the success of their Nevermind album, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 came out for the Sega Genesis and Mega Drive, McLaren released the F1, Bill Clinton was elected president of the US, and in this case for this video, CN introduced a new spin on their already iconic wet noodle logo, the CN North America logo. In 1992, CN tweaked their logo to include a stylized map of North America to better embrace their new partnerships and services. They had an Alaska to Prince George barge operating at the time, as well as a trackage rights agreement with the Burlington Northern and F&M railroads to reach into Mexico. Ha! Suck on that, CPKC. CN did it first, we're better than you. The logo would make its official debut on newly rebuilt SC40U number 6000, followed by 25 brand new Dash 840 CMs. This scheme was also the basis of what CN liveries would look like for the next 30 years. It was a more modern and minimalist take on CN's previous zebra stripe liveries used since 1960. It removed all the stripes aside from one up by the cab of the locomotive, and added the CN logos on the sides. The North America logo wouldn't last too long, however, as most railcars with it were either repainted or scrapped by the early to mid-2000s. Locomotives, however, retained the scheme, albeit without the North American map behind the CN noodle. This was prevalent with new at the time GE-9s and EMD SE70 and 75Is.
Hey, surprise appearance from me! Anyways, it seemed that the paint used by CN and rival railway CP rail system at the time were very poor. CN's locomotives painted into the scheme now have a paint so faded that it looks pink, and the mats on the sides have actually just peeled away and left the primer showing underneath. CPs are even worse. On some units, you could see remnants of previous paint schemes. They're alleviating this problem with repaints into the CPR Modern Beaver scheme. CN, however, nah, they don't care. As long as the damn thing runs, it doesn't need new paint. I mean, some have gotten touch-ups like being repainted into the more modern website livery, but a lot still roam the rails with the faded North America scheme.
Now what I'm trying to get at is this. CN's scheme has been the same for 32 years. Which honestly, if you think about it, isn't a bad thing whatsoever in the grand scheme of things. It works, I guess. It's mostly consistent. Mostly. But I'm sure a lot of people think it's kind of bland and a little long in the tooth. That's why Cowl and I teamed up to show you our concept for a new take on the Canadian National Locomotive livery.
The new
Introducing the CNSF redesign concept. This scheme is actually based off a fictional railroad. Remember Google Plus? Yeah, so there was a group there, got pretty big towards the end, called Fictional Railroads of the World, and around like 2015 or so, I made a fictional railroad called the Manitoba, Minnesota and Western, a class 2 kind of thing that ran in the upper Midwest US and Midwest Canada. People from the Carolinas might recognize this scheme. This, apparently, is practically the same as the recent Carolina Coastal Railway livery. Funny thing is, I had no idea this scheme existed until, like, way after I made the scheme and a little while after the platform was shut down. My thought process at first was literally just take CN and make it blue, but then I got comments saying this is literally just blue CN, so I changed the stripe design and called it a day. Apparently, this scheme was introduced to the short line around mid-2012, with more units being painted in 2015. Going back to the CN scheme, people asked why it wasn't just a new zebra scheme. To put it simply, no. Just kidding. Zebra is a great scheme, but CN themselves haven't used the scheme in decades now, as nice as it is. It was more so tweaking CN's current day look. We removed the big white single stripe and replaced it with a hockey stick pinstripe that actually wraps around the locomotive. CN's units have predominantly been red on the front and the rear of the unit, but I wanted to try a scheme that practically wraps around the unit this time. It's been a staple of new CN units since the late 2010s, so we added the new Indigenous Relations sticker on the nose of the units. And of course, another addition, or better yet, re-addition, is the CN North America logo. Like CP's dual flag, the North America map, whether foamers like it or not, portrays the company in today's day and age. They still have the barge partnership to Alaska from the 90s, and recently introduced the Falcon Premium service, alongside Union Pacific and Ferromex, to and from Mexico. Locomotive grade paint without a doubt has evolved and strengthened over the years, allowing them to not fade in the sun or peel as bad as they did 20, 25, or 30 years ago now. I think maybe a slight white outline could make the map pop a little instead of being flat against the black paint on the units. Another new CN signature is the white cab roofs. Painting the cab roofs white apparently lowers the temperature inside 15 to 20 degrees, as white colored things reflect sunlight, while red or black colored things, like in this case locomotive roofs, absorb sunlight and can heat up the cab.
Do not make a race joke.
Alright, my bad. An alternate look was this here. A stripe angled in towards the cab and then going out down the long hood, again based off the fictional railway. And also, as some may point out, CN's Alstom rebuilt SD40-3 locomotives. These leasers were pretty prevalent on CN's roster in the very late 90s and early 2000s, being subletted for Wisconsin Central throughout the 2000s before their lease ended around 2008. Some units have been repainted to other leaser or shortline schemes, but some retain the GFCX gray with the orange pinstripe. This design has the pinstripe go down from the top corner of the long hood and right to the bottom before going out towards the rear. With our redesign, we wanted to retain some of the red going along the unit. All in all, I think this would be a nice change up to CN's look, as well as the North American Class 1 paint scheme landscape, with bland and uninspired designs all across the board. What can we as foamers do about it? Well, nothing really, to be honest. Although we as a community could tag CN and get them to see this. If this little kid can influence CP to paint 8757 orange, we can influence CN to have a design that sticks out in the crowd. You never know. A design that stands out could make customers interested in shipping with the company. Because with CN, it's all about the quarterly earnings and beloved shareholders. For now, I'll leave it to Cowl to announce something.
Introducing the CN redesign concept for Rolling Line. In conjunction with this video, I will probably be releasing the design to the whole community workshop. The required locomotive models should be listed in the required section on the Steam Workshop page, so hopefully you have some of these mods checked out. Anyways, gotta get back to the grind a bit. College is definitely a pain, I'll tell you that.
Thanks for watching, everyone. A big thank you to Cowl Unit Productions and Gaming Railfanner for voicing and helping with designing the paint scheme and adapting it to rolling line models. Another shout out to the amazing channel members, Zenith Harris, the Oklahoma Hot Rail, Menawewin Velagaric, Nate, my man, the Old Bay Railfan, AMRR, Brainlaser 3691, Wacky Charles, Shenandoah Valley Railfan, the Manitoba Railfan, and Transit Fan 2022. Thanks a lot, guys, I appreciate it. As for everyone else here, feel free to join as a channel member to get a shout out and access to exclusive content.
And as always, be nice in the comments.
Don't diddle kids, don't derail trains for clout,
And see you next Tuesday. Dude, what do you mean by see you next Tuesday anyway?
Oh, it's actually just an acronym made for my dear friend Mr. Penny.
And that is?
It just spells out cut.